What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to part 3 of the Atomic Firewall rebuild series. Today we're going to continue working on this thing, and we're going to start by cleaning this up a little bit. There's one thing I hate is a nasty bike when I'm working on it, so I'm going to try to clean this up as best as we can before we actually keep going with the build. So yeah, let's do it. Alright, I'm not trying to make a show bike out of this thing, but, you know, at least want to get all the nasty grease off before I start working on it. So I don't keep getting dirty. But, yeah, just some engine cleaner in there. Let it soak in a little bit. And just spray it off. It's better than nothing. Alright, so like I said, I'm not building a show bike here. I just want to give it a once over so I don't get destroyed working on it. So yeah, there you go. Next up, we'll tear this thing down and also give it a good scrub. Alright, so I'm going to start by removing the rear hub. This is a 24mm nut. Rear pads, just little 2 mega clips that actually hold the pads in. Usually just go flying across the room when you try to take them off, so I'm trying to keep that from happening. That's one. 2. There you go. 3 little screws that hold the back plate on. Notice how these have little O-rings behind this. Usually when you order a rubber kit, it actually comes with all these O-rings to replace these with. Sorry, I mean a gasket kit. So take these off and toss them because they're nice and hard. Yep. There's one more right here. Alright, next up, we'll remove the flywheel. Pull this cover off. 9mm nut. Take that off. Get the lock washer out. There you go. So to pull the flywheel, you need a flywheel puller. You can get this from Scooter Mikado as well. So when you thread this in, make sure it's actually threaded in correctly. If you don't, and you go and tighten this nut, you'll strip all the threads on your tool or on the flywheel. So make sure this is threaded in a good bit before you try to tighten this bolt. There you go. Tighten that bolt. Again, 19mm. Pop the flywheel off. Just like that. That's actually very clean back there. Okay, so we're gonna get the stator off now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips head screws. The wires actually go through the case all the way up to the junction block up here. So let's get these wires out. Go. When taking these out, they're stuck. Get yourself a little impact driver like this. That way you kind of break them loose instead of you just using a screwdriver to try to torque that. It'll sometimes strip the screws. So 4. Stator off. Looks like this thing has been rebuilt before. I think I remember the previous owner telling me that. But we're going to go and redo it anyway, just in case. Stator's out. Okay, now we can pull the cylinder off. Okay, remove the cylinder. You don't really have to take the spark plug out, but I will. This actually looks new. 11mm nuts on the top. There's one that's different. This one, that's because that holds the plastic shroud on that covers the cylinder. So remove that first. And then 4 11mm. You want to loosen these kind of a little bit at a time so you don't warp the head. Okay. Like I said, this thing's got a Pinasco 177 kit on it. So, cool. Okay. We'll just slide the cylinder off. Like that. Well, looks pretty good. Or use that gasket. Reuse this head gasket. It still looks okay. I put some silicone on it. What the hell is this? Huh. Weird. You never know what you find in these motors. Okay. The crank looks new too. We'll check that out once we remove it or take it apart. Okay, next I'll pull the piston off. And just 2 snap rings on either side of the wrist pin. One there. Oh. That always happens. Alright, the wrist pin seems to be stuck on this one, so I'm just going to give it some light taps. 10mm socket. There's a tool for this, but I don't have it, so this works for me. Wow, looks pretty good. Before I get the case apart, this bike has hot reads in it. I've never actually messed with this stuff before, so we're gonna have to figure it out. But just a simple removing this thing and replacing the gasket, I guess. Couldn't find a worse tip to use. Easy enough. Replace this gasket. Oil pump drive gear. Replace that or remove that. Alright, now we can get the case apart. Case separation. It's just a bunch of these 11mm nuts all the way around. And a few on the other side. So... Okay, now I got all the nuts and bolts out off of this thing. I should be able to just tap this case a little bit. It should come apart. Just light taps will be fine. There you go. Looks pretty clean. Some sludge buildup in here. So yeah, it's a good thing we took it apart. Okay, now that I have the case apart, looks like the previous owner replaced the crank already. I believe this is a Mazzy crank. It's made in Italy on one side. So yeah, I will remove it and put it on the truing stand to make sure it's in spec, and I think I will reuse it rather than replacing it. Alright, I'm going to remove the gear stack now. I should be able to just tap it out. Like that. Yep, nice pile of sludge there. Good thing I'll clean that up. These gears actually look a little loose, but wow. I'm going to check to see if this would... These shims are within spec. If not, I gotta replace them. Alright, on one side of the crank, you gotta remove the oil pump drive gear, which is this one here. Get that off, and then sometimes you can tap the crank out, but if not, there's a special tool for it, so. Yep, definitely not coming out on this one, so let me grab my tool. Alright, so this is actually a case separator and crank removal tool. So this goes onto the case like this. Comes with these little thumb screws or thumb bolts. Once I get this on, I can tighten that big bolt in the middle there, and it'll pop the crank out. So yeah, if your crank is stuck, well, not stuck, but usually it's tight in there, so use this tool instead of banging on it, because if you hit the crank too much, it'll put it out of spec, and then you'll have to get it back in spec, and that's a pain. Go. Yeah, I believe there's a Mazzy crank, so I'm going to reuse that. Cool. Alright, so we're going to be sticking this thing in the parts cleaner. I want to get these bearings out and the cush drive. That way we don't get any dirt or anything in the bearings. So I'm going to start with this, I guess, oil pump drive gear thing, whatever you call this thing. Looks like it's just a snap ring. Alright, next up we'll remove the cush drive. I already bent these little locking tabs out. This is a 17mm socket. Okay. It's in the cush drive. You're going to push out on the shaft on one end. I may have to tap it a little bit. And watch these needle bearings on this other side drop out. That's how you get the cush drive out. Usually if you shake this thing, you're rattling in there. The springs are probably broken, but this one seems to be okay. But I may just rebuild it anyway. Alright, so don't lose any of these needle bearings, because they need to go back in. Alright, so I'm going to pull these seals off now. This one, they actually look new. One, two. Alright, now I got the seal out. Clean this up. I'll remove the snap ring holding the bearing in. One. And also the snap ring holding the axle bearing in. Okay, so for the hub bearing, I have this special tool that I use to drift it out from the other side. So it pretty much goes in there. Just tap it out. Like so. Okay, for this side, I'm using a blind bearing puller tool. So this goes in from the other side. Pin goes down the middle. Put this little cylinder over it. Nut on. Okay, so I'm going to put the bolt in. It pushes that pin in and it spreads the little arms out to grab onto the bearing. Once I have that all set up, then I'll hold this shaft, turn this nut, and it'll pull the slowly pull the bearing out. So let's do that first. Let's see here. Okay. So I tighten that. You'll see, spread these little arms out, and then now I'll hold that and I'll tighten this nut and I'll slowly pull the bearing out. There you go. Crankshaft bearing is out. Cool, now we can stick it in the parts cleaner and get her all cleaned up. Alright, one last thing I have to remove. This little oil sling tray. So what this is it actually catches oil that's being slung by the transmission. And I guess it gets it up to where the clutch is. So, usually on the older P series, this is not there. So, just pull this out real quick so I can clean the case and we'll reinstall it. Alright, so here's a shot of the motor before I clean it. Is it absolutely necessary that I do this? No, but I like my stuff clean when I go and work on it. So, yeah, everybody knows a clean motor is a good running motor. So, that's what we'll do now. Motor in my parts cleaner. This is something I got from Tractor Supply. The solution is also from Tractor Supply. As you see, I got my gloves on, and if it sounds a little funny, it's because I have a respirator on. So yeah, make sure if you do this, that you're in a well ventilated area, because you start getting dizzy if you're not. after doing this for a little while. So turn it on. Pretty much just keep spraying the cleaner solution onto the case and scrub it down. This is all I'm doing to this thing. Getting the grease and grime off before I rebuild it. But yeah, you get the idea. So as you can see, I've been at this probably for about 20 minutes now, but got the grease and grime pretty much all off of it. Again, I'm not building a show bike. I'm just trying to clean this up before I work on it. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. We need to do the other half and then we'll be done. Okay, now on to the other half. There you have it, guys. A nice, clean motor ready to be reassembled. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing in the next video. Again, guys, if you liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all the time I have for this thing tonight. I'll catch you all next time.